most, the ones who smile at the dinner table, are hiding a darkness you could never imagine. In Cottonwood Heights, Utah, Jenifer Gladhill and Matthew Johnson appeared to have it all. A $1 million home, 3 children, and lives that, to outsiders, seemed flawless. But in September 2024, beneath the manicured lawns and holiday lights, something had begun to rot. Could a perfect family really be a house of secrets, waiting for the right moment to shatter? Hello guys, welcome to my channel where interesting stories of true crimes, mysteries, and cold cases are told. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, share it with your friends, and drop your thoughts in the comment section below. Matthew, 51, was a decorated Green Beret, a man his comrades described as brilliant, dependable, and someone who always carried the weight of others' safety on his shoulders. Jenifer, 42, seemed the devoted military wife and attentive mother, kind and unassuming, always at home with the children. But appearances can be deceiving. How well do we ever truly know the people who share our lives? By July 2024, cracks in the marriage had begun to show. Court documents reveal Jenifer filed for a temporary protective order against Matthew in August, claiming she feared for her safety. But the judge reviewing her evidence noticed contradictions. Videos showed her unafraid, even confrontational, while text messages depicted repeated taunts and provocations toward Matthew. Commissioner Russell Minus dismissed her request, noting the couple's marriage had reached a state of dysfunction that could only be resolved through divorce. Could desperation, pride, or obsession push someone beyond rational judgment? As the legal wrangling played out, Matthew's friends noticed his behavior shifting. He spent nights away at the National Guard facility, uneasy in the home that once felt safe. In one conversation with his longtime friend Kevin Thompson, he admitted the strain had grown unbearable and that divorce might be the only solution. Yet he had no idea how dangerously close events were spiraling toward a point of no return. Could a man ever feel so threatened in his own home without understanding the true source of danger? Meanwhile, Jenifer was living a life hidden in plain sight. Her interactions with Matthew were cold and distant, but she carried on with normal routines, attending to the children, maintaining the house, and keeping neighbors unaware of the storm brewing within. Observers would later describe her demeanor as unnervingly composed, almost as if she knew something no one else did. Could calmness be the mask of a calculated mind plotting a future no one could predict? In the final days before the breaking point, small signs hinted at the unraveling. Arguments grew more frequent and intense, but the true danger remained obscured. Matthew noticed the tension, but no one could foresee what lay ahead. And for the first time, the question loomed like a shadow over the Johnson-Gladhill household. Could love turn so lethal that the line between family and threat disappears entirely? The tension in the Johnson-Gladhill household had become almost tangible, like a storm hovering just beyond the horizon. Jenifer's demeanor remained composed in public, but friends and neighbors began noticing subtle cracks, abrupt silences, forced smiles, and fleeting moments of anxiety. Behind closed doors, arguments simmered, barely held back by walls and polite nods. How could a home that seemed so peaceful to the outside world hide such a growing darkness? Matthew's colleagues in the Utah National Guard noticed the change in him as well. Once confident and reliable, he now seemed distracted, occasionally skipping nightly check-ins, spending long hours at the base, and avoiding confrontations with his wife whenever possible. Friends described him as uneasy, almost haunted, aware of a danger that others could not see. Could someone so disciplined, trained for the battlefield, feel powerless in their own home? Court filings from August 2024 revealed more about the dysfunction. Jenifer's protective order claim had been dismissed, and the judge's notes described a marriage in chaos, a relationship bringing out the worst in the parties and suggesting divorce should have been pursued long ago. While the legal system had provided no remedy, the couple's private interactions became increasingly volatile. Could unresolved resentment and secret desires escalate to something catastrophic if left unchecked? If you've ever looked at a family and assumed everything was perfect, think again and consider this. Someone you trust could be hiding unimaginable darkness. Don't scroll past this story. Hit that subscribe button and share it, because missing these warnings might cost more than you realize. Behind the public facade, Jenifer had begun an affair that she kept meticulously hidden. The man involved would later become central to understanding the crime, though at the time, he appeared as nothing more than a confidant. Their secret meetings and whispered conversations added another layer to the tension, a dangerous mix of obsession, deceit, and desire. Could an emotional entanglement be enough to tip someone toward an unthinkable act? Meanwhile, Matthew, unaware of the full scope of betrayal, sought to restore a semblance of order. He planned to push for a clean divorce, believing that ending the marriage legally would be the safest path for him and the children. He never anticipated that forces much closer to home were already moving beyond reason. Could he have sensed the danger lurking within the very walls meant to protect him? Small incidents added fuel to the growing storm. Jenifer displayed a firearm to her lover in mid-September, a loaded Glock kept in their home, seemingly casual yet deliberate. To anyone else, it could have seemed ordinary in a military family, but it hinted at a preparedness and a cold calculation beneath her calm exterior. Could a seemingly minor display of power foreshadow something far darker? The days leading to late September were filled with escalating tension. Arguments became more pointed, silences more threatening, and the children increasingly aware of the unspoken hostility. Matthew spent more nights away from home, sleeping at the National Guard facility, trying to maintain distance from the household that had once felt safe. Could a father ever sense that the danger was not just marital conflict, but something that might destroy him entirely? By September 19th, the pieces were in place, though no one outside the home could see it. Jenifer's careful planning, her hidden relationship, and the deteriorating marriage were converging toward a moment that would alter every life in the Johnson-Gladhill family. Each action seemed small, yet they combined into a trajectory that would soon become irreversible. Could a sequence of private choices escalate into tragedy without warning, leaving only questions in its wake? September 20th, 2024 began like any other day for the Johnson-Gladhill family, yet beneath the quiet routines, the weight of hidden betrayals and unspoken tensions pressed down like a storm ready to break. Jenifer Gladhill moved through the house with her usual composure, attending to the children, but in her mind, every decision had already been planned. How far could a person go when desire, obsession, and fear collide behind closed doors? Matthew returned home from the National Guard facility that evening, unaware that the confrontation he had been dreading was imminent. He had begun piecing together fragments of Jenifer's secret life, subtle phone messages, distant glances, small inconsistencies, and confronted her. Witnesses would later describe a heated argument, voices sharp and tense, the kind of shouting that shakes walls and fractures calm. Could a decade of devotion and trust disintegrate in just a few words? Jenifer, according to later statements, remained composed outwardly, almost detached, but her mind was calculating every step. The children were elsewhere, and the house was quiet. She had clearly thought through what she wanted to achieve that night. Was this the point where personal conflict could spiral into irreversible consequences? As the evening progressed, the argument intensified. Matthew pleaded for honesty, trying to salvage the marriage, while Jenifer's focus was elsewhere. The tension was thick, an invisible pressure that seemed ready to snap. Could unresolved resentment and betrayal push a person to act in ways that defy reason? Later that night, an irreversible act occurred that would change everything for the family. Details remain sensitive, but authorities later confirmed that it was the culmination of planning, secrecy, and escalating conflict. Could someone plan something so carefully and still underestimate the consequences? The aftermath was deliberate. Steps were taken to remove evidence and cover tracks, including rearranging and cleaning parts of the home. Outwardly, it could have appeared as routine maintenance or renovations, but investigators would later piece together the true sequence of events. Could appearances ever truly hide the turmoil beneath? In the days that followed, Jenifer made a critical mistake. She confided in someone she trusted. The conversation, later recorded, revealed an unsettling calm and detachment as she recounted her actions in a way that suggested she viewed the events as inevitable. How could someone speak about serious actions so plainly and remain seemingly unfazed? As the days passed and Matthew's absence became evident, Jenifer continued to present herself as a concerned spouse. Yet evidence, inconsistencies, and recorded conversations slowly began to build a clearer picture of the night's events. Could someone maintain such a composed facade while investigators closed in? The events of that night left a lasting impact, creating silence and unease in a home that had once been filled with life. The family dynamic was forever altered, and the search for truth would soon involve authorities, neighbors, and friends working tirelessly to understand what had happened. Who could have imagined that behind a seemingly ordinary household, trust and security had already been shattered? By late September, Matthew Johnson had not returned from work or check-ins, and his absence began raising serious concern among his friends, colleagues, and the Utah National Guard. Initial assumptions of a temporary disappearance gave way to unease as hours turned into days. Investigators were called in, and the quiet suburban home that once radiated normalcy now became the focal point of scrutiny. Could a disappearance in a well-to-do neighborhood be more sinister than anyone imagined? Jenifer reported Matthew missing on September 28th, claiming he had told her he would be gone for a week and instructed her not to call. Her calm demeanor during the report contrasted sharply with the reality of the crime, but investigators immediately noticed discrepancies. Phone records, GPS data, and witness accounts didn't align with her story. Could someone craft such a convincing facade and yet leave enough traces to unravel it? The investigation expanded rapidly. Police executed a search warrant at the Johnson Gladhill home, finding evidence that told a story far darker than the one Jenifer had described. Bloodstains on the carpet, bed frame, and walls suggested foul play, and a new mattress corroborated prior suspicions that something violent had occurred in the master bedroom. Could the careful planning Jenifer had relied on really withstand the scrutiny of trained investigators? Midway through the forensic review, Jenifer's lover came forward with recorded conversations and screenshots, providing chilling confirmation of her confession. In the recordings, Jenifer described her actions with disturbing detachment, framing the murder as an inevitable solution to a personal problem. The evidence was damning, and investigators began piecing together the timeline of that fatal night. Could a confession, even one shared privately, become the key to exposing a meticulously concealed crime? If you think someone you trust couldn't be capable of betrayal, think again. Sometimes danger hides behind familiar faces, and ignoring the signs could mean missing the truth before it's too late. Subscribe and share to stay aware. The case deepened as authorities discovered the involvement of Jenifer's parents. Thomas and Rosalie Gladhill had visited the home multiple times during the critical period, their actions initially disguised as innocuous. But further investigation revealed they had assisted in covering up evidence. Rosalie purchased the new mattress, while both had helped clean and reset electronic devices. Could familial loyalty become so twisted that it shields a murderer from justice? Investigators also traced Jenifer's movements using GPS and phone records, revealing trips to dispose of Matthew's truck and transport his body. The meticulous documentation of every route and timestamp painted a chilling portrait of premeditation. Despite the horrific acts, Jenifer had almost believed she could escape detection. Could anyone really think they could plan a murder so carefully and remain untouchable? By early October, law enforcement was closing in. Evidence of the storage container used to transport Matthew was located floating in water, containing traces of blood, confirming parts of Jenifer's confession. Still, his body remained missing, a void that amplified the anguish for his family. Could a person responsible for such violence truly remain at large in the shadows of a suburban neighborhood? Throughout the investigation, the impact on the children and the community was profound. Friends described the family as once ideal, now fractured and haunted. Matthew's comrades in the National Guard organized search parties, volunteering tirelessly to find any trace of him. The emotional weight of the case added urgency to the forensic work, as investigators balanced procedure with the pain of those left behind. Could justice truly be served if the victim remained physically absent from those who loved him? As the web of deception unraveled, it became clear how calculated the entire crime had been. Every decision Jenifer made, from planning the murder to involving her parents, had been designed to evade detection. Yet meticulous planning could not overcome the combination of forensic science, witness accounts, and her own confessions. Could anyone, no matter how clever, truly outsmart the persistence of justice? Months passed after Jenifer Gladhill's arrest, and the search for Matthew Johnson's remains continued relentlessly across northern Utah. Volunteers, National Guard friends, and investigators combed forests, riverbanks, and remote areas, following every lead. Despite extensive efforts, his body remained missing, a haunting absence that weighed on his family. Could someone truly understand the grief of waiting, hoping for closure that never comes? Jenifer's trial began on December 8, 2025, drawing attention from the local community and national media. The prosecution presented the evidence meticulously. Phone records, GPS data, recorded confessions, and the testimony of her lover, who had documented chilling admissions. They laid out a narrative of premeditation, deception, and the calculated steps taken in the weeks leading up to Matthew's disappearance. Could a person plan so carefully and yet still be brought to justice? The defense attempted to paint Jenifer as a distressed mother and spouse, caught in emotional turmoil. They emphasized her past behavior and claimed she had been overwhelmed by circumstances, attempting to shift blame and soften perception. But the courtroom remained tense as the evidence spoke louder than words. Could sympathy ever outweigh such damning corroboration? Witnesses recounted the final days before Matthew's disappearance. Friends who noticed his increasing absences, the sleepless nights he spent at the National Guard facility, and his growing concern about the marriage. Each account revealed a man trapped between duty, love, and fear. Could a life so disciplined and honorable unravel so quickly in the shadow of personal betrayal? Jenifer's parents were also scrutinized. Thomas and Rosalie Gladhill had aided in the cleanup and cover-up, their actions now part of the trial narrative. Investigators revealed how the new mattress was purchased, devices wiped, and movements coordinated to hide evidence. Could loyalty to a child ever justify actions that compounded an already tragic situation? Throughout the trial, the emotional toll on the Johnson-Gladhill children was palpable. Friends described them as quiet and withdrawn, forever altered by the absence of their father and the incarceration of their mother. The courtroom, though focused on legal procedures, could not contain the weight of human loss. Could justice truly account for the lives left shattered in the aftermath of one person's choices? As proceedings continued, the prosecution underscored the motive, Jenifer's affair and desire to avoid divorce and financial entanglements. Her careful manipulation, the concealment of evidence, and the detachment in recorded confessions painted a portrait of someone willing to destroy lives for personal freedom. Could selfishness and desire override the moral compass so completely? Outside the courtroom, Matthew's family and friends waited anxiously for updates. The pain of not knowing where he was, of not having the chance for a proper farewell, lingered in every conversation and search effort. Volunteers continued to follow tips and rumors, hoping to uncover his final resting place. Could closure ever truly arrive when the physical truth remains hidden? By the final day of trial, the jury had absorbed a story of betrayal, premeditation, and loss, juxtaposed against the innocence of children who had lost both parents in different ways. The judge reminded all present of the importance of evidence and justice, emphasizing that the law sought truth above emotion. Could the system reconcile the tragedy of the case with the need for impartial judgment? The trial concluded, leaving the community to reflect on the events and their consequences. Matthew's legacy as a devoted father, husband, and Green Beret remained intact, even as the scars of Jenifer's actions were felt by all who knew him. The case was far from forgotten, and the search for truth continued in the hearts of those left behind. Could healing ever begin when the shadow of betrayal lingers so heavily? Justice seeks to reveal truth, but it cannot erase the damage done by betrayal, selfishness, or cruelty. The choices of one person can ripple across lives, leaving wounds that may never fully heal. Matthew Johnson's story reminds us that trust is fragile, love is not always safe, and appearances can be deceiving. While the law pursues accountability, the human cost persists in families and communities. Reflection, awareness, and empathy are as essential as justice itself, because only by understanding the depths of human behavior can society hope to prevent such tragedies and honor those whose lives are forever changed. If you found this story gripping, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and tell us what you think in the comments below.